Prime Time Local News, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime Local News. Abby St. John and Jasmine King here to bring you everything including news, weather, sports, and pet of the day, including our pet winner, which will be announced at the end of hour 2. And our question of the day, if your life could be one movie genre, what would it be?
I feel like my life already is a comedy because so many things just happen to me. I'm like, why? But then they're laughable, so it's definitely a comedy because I'm just very confused all the time.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'd like to be in a comedy with a little, like maybe like a romantic comedy because those always end up being really cute and funny and stuff like that. But we will get to more comments later on in the show. But first, we're going to Josh Ryan, who is on location today.
We're back at the Rescue Hall today to chat about what to do before you hit the water this weekend. Conditions aren't that favorable considering the wind that is going on at the moment, as well as the rainfall still expected over the next couple of days. So we're going to chat with Deputy Chief Ryan LeBlanc from the Lloydminster Rescue Squad about what to do before you hit the water and what to do if you do happen to be in an emergency situation in the water. Hopefully you won't be, and they won't have to take this boat out onto the lake and get you out of said water. So first, a look at your local news.
Thanks, Josh. As part of the Canada Day festivities on Monday, Lloydminster will be celebrating the diverse community of immigrants within the border city. And as our Josh Park reports, one man and his business now call Canada home after fleeing from the dangers overseas.
It was 60 years ago that a young 16-year-old Spiros Kokonas fled from his homeland of Greece. His father first making the jump to Canada and then sponsoring him to do the same.
We were not having a good life in Greece. It was during the World War that destroyed the whole country. And there was nothing there. We had nothing to eat.
Kokonas is just one of many immigrants that now call Lloydminster home. After first moving to Saskatoon and then eventually making the trip north to the border city, Kokonas got to work. His original business, however, fell victim to the spiraling economy.
And then we lost everything. We lost the house, we lost the business, the building. We were left with nothing.
What seemed like the end for Kokonas was actually just the beginning. After receiving a loan from a man by the name of Peter Gulak, Kokonas opened another business, eventually selling years later. Then came the birth of his now restaurant, Spiros. 28 years, 2 locations, and a thriving restaurant that he built, bringing his Greek culture to Canada, something he is familiar with.
And then we came here and we started a little business. So that's all I knew. And that's all I know. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just like he greets guests that come to his restaurant, Kokonas was greeted with open arms when he came to Canada.
At that time, the doors were open to European nations because that's where the main war was. And there was a poverty, and Canada had opened up its doors to people from throughout Europe. And that's where we started. I would say Canada is one of the, if not the best place in the world.
For Kokonas, he was determined to give back to Canada what the country gave to him.
He opened the doors for us to come in. But from then on, it's not so much what the government can do for us, but what can we do for the government?
Something he does to this very day. Kokonas has hosted community suppers offering free meals on holidays, as well as Spiros has been recognized many times for its achievements. But don't forget about its prized ingredient, known throughout the community.
This is our secret sauce.
Oh yeah, I've heard great reviews about it.
Yeah.
Being an immigrant himself, Kokonas has always believed in one thing: equality among those in Canada, no matter where they come from.
If we cut our hand a bit and let the blood flow, we'll see that we have the same blood, you and I.
This weekend, as part of the Canada Day festivities at Bud Miller Park, Kokonas will be sharing his story, along with a poem he wrote titled The Heart of a Canadian. An immigrant of 60 years, a Canadian citizen, and a business owner. Spiros Kokonas resembles the true essence of a Canadian, something he hopes to share with those that come to his restaurant.
It doesn't matter who they are. They come here because they know they're accepted.
Josh Park, Primetime Local News.
As we head into the long weekend, one question no longer on drivers' minds is the status of construction on Highway 16 East as it is open once again. The construction forced vehicles to reroute and find different ways, and even though it caused frustration in drivers, it was one plan that needed to be done.
This is a program that we simply could not hold off as part of our water and sewer replacement program for 2019, so this work did have to get completed.
Originally, all the construction on the road was supposed to last until next week.
The construction started today, June 18th, and it is expected to last for about 14 days, which takes us to about July 5th. We are pushing and working with our contractors, Surface Works and Underground, to have it completed before the long weekend, so we are not impacting motorists through the long weekend.
And what they had hoped for came true, as with the roads reopening today, it won't cause any more stress or delays for drivers with the long weekends upon us. The Lloydminster Fur Babies Forever Home is looking for people to foster a pet before they find their permanent home. The Fur Babies are looking for foster parents for their dogs, and they currently have plenty of pets available to foster.
We are in the summer months, so a lot of our active fosters are taking holidays, which are well-deserved holidays. What fosters do for us is once the dogs are done isolation, they come in to the fosters, and the fosters provide them a loving home for the time until they are adopted.
Signing up to be a foster parent for them is just a simple process.
You would go to our website, furbabiesforeverhomes.com. We have applications to fill out for fosters.
For more information, visit their website or Facebook page to find out who to contact about potentially becoming a foster parent. Now we go to our Josh Ryan, who is on location today.
As we're starting to get a very tiny little pour down on, I'm joined by Ryan LeBlanc, Deputy Chief from the Lloydminster Rescue Squad out at the Britannia Fire Hall. And we talked to you a little bit earlier this year about water safety specifically. How busy has it been for you since then?
We've had a couple of reports of people going out on the water and getting themselves into trouble. But ultimately it's been a pretty decent year so far this year.
And so that means, nothing particularly serious. You guys haven't been called out to do anything.
No, not anything for a rescue standpoint yet this year, but it is still early. We do want to remind people, to be watching the weather. Not to go out on the water if they know the weather's going to come up or the wind's going to pick up, or the size of the lake matters, right? Or what kind of boat you're taking out on the waters.
And so on a day like this where we've got a fairly steady wind but very little for rainfall, is this a little dangerous to be out on the lake?
It can be, yeah, you bet. With the canoes and the smaller boats, the wind definitely plays a factor in the waves that are out there. So people just need to be paying attention to what they're doing and what kind of boats they're taking out onto the water. So.
And hopefully then we won't see anyone hop out on the water right this second.
Yeah, no, it's something else to watch is always make sure you're wearing your life jacket, because you just never know when you could go overboard, or if a wave comes over and rolls the boat over. So you want to be careful.
And we'll look into a couple of the specifics that you should always take care of when you're heading out onto the water. First, back to you guys in studio.
Thanks, Josh. Well, taking a look at current temperatures for this evening, we're sitting at 23 here in the border city, mostly cloudy skies, but we are seeing some sun peek in through those. Looking at our records for this time of year, back in 2002, the record high was 35 degrees, and the record low back in 1985 was 3 degrees. And we are nowhere near either of those just yet, but we could be getting to them as the summer moves ahead. Taking a look at our satellite radar, as you can see, there are some green coming up through Saskatchewan near North Battleford and Maidstone and Macklin. On the Alberta side, it seems to be cooling off from yesterday, but we are still getting that heavy rain up through Edmonton and Lac La Biche area with the red and the yellow there. So it should be making its way as we see a little bit of green coming towards Lloydminster as rain will come. Unfortunately, we are not out of the blue yet for that. Take a look, watches and warnings. Rainfall warning in the Edmonton area making its way over to Vegreville. We're over further south or further west of Alberta. We are seeing a huge rainfall warning there, but nothing out here just yet. Taking a look at current temperatures, like I said, 23 here in the border city, 20 in Cold Lake and Rocky Mountain House, 21 in Red Deer, 18 in both Edmonton and Athabasca, 13 in Whitecourt, and 16 in both Jasper and Edson. On the Saskatchewan side, we're getting 22 in North Battleford, 23 in Saskatoon, 25 in Melfort, 24 in Prince Albert, and 20 in Meadow Lake. Now, in-depth regional temperatures, North Battleford overnight will have clear skies at a high of 13. And tomorrow, they'll see some rain with a high of 24 and mix of sun and cloud. Over in Cold Lake, they will also have a clear night tonight with a high of 10 and rain tomorrow with a high of 20 with a mix of sun and clouds. For us here in the border city, we are expecting to see some clear, mainly cloudy skies tonight with a high of 11, but with 20 degrees tomorrow with a chance of some rain. Taking a look at your next 3 days, 60% chance of rain tomorrow, 20 on Sunday with a mix of sun and clouds, and Monday for Canada Day, it may not rain, but we'll see a high of 23 with a mix of sun and clouds. But that's first look at your weather. We'll have more local news coming up after the break.
Welcome back. Many areas of Saskatchewan received late rain last week that helped relieve extremely dry conditions, but the latest provincial crop report says more rain is needed in some areas to help crops, hay, and pasture develop. The rainfall came too late for most first-cut hay. Provincially, the moisture has been improved or sustained crop conditions, and warm weather will bring on crop, hay, and pasture growth. 50% of fall cereals, 55% of spring cereals, 62% of pulse crops, and 43% of oilseed crops are at the normal stages of development for this time of year. The rain has caused difficulties with spraying operations as weeds are growing now and crops are getting in late stage for in-crop herbicide applications. The Canadian Cattlemen's Association is worried about China's ban on Canadian red meat. The Beef Industry Association says the dispute centers around reports of falsified Canadian pork export certificates. It says in the first quarter of this year, beef exports to China jumped by 400%. The association says the beef sector has enough other markets, but some feedlots could be hard. The CCCA says overall it would like to trade to be based on science instead of politics. In the meantime, export certificates to other countries are not affected. Now we'll take a look at your egg prices.
We're a part of less than 5% of Canadian auto body shops and Lloydminster's only locations with certified collision care recognition at City Centre Auto Body.
The Lloydminster Bobcats continue to add to their recruiting class, inking a pair of defensemen this week. Tyson Kowalik of the St. Albert Raiders and Newbridge Academy's Ryan Noss will suit up this fall. Kowalik tied 16 points in 33 games, helping lead the Raiders to a matchup with the Calgary Buffaloes in the Alberta Midget Hockey League Finals. A native of New Brunswick, Noss was identified at USHL camp for his strong skating. That's 3 additions this week after the Cats signed Matt Henriksen on Tuesday, the son of a former NHLer Darby Henriksen. Now we go to our Josh Ryan, who is on location today.
We are now inside the Rescue Squad Fire Hall. I'm here with Deputy Chief Ryan LeBlanc. And what kind of boat specifically is in front of us?
So this is a Zodiac. We've got a 2-horse Honda motor on the back of it. This particular boat we'll use for smaller bodies of water, such as Bud Miller, that sort of size. We use it also with our K9 division. So if we're searching in the water, we'll have our dogs in here, and they're able to get nice and close to the water so that they can taste the water and get some good smells.
Awesome. And so you only usually have to deal with maybe a one-person situation. This isn't used for a sort of more large scale of thing that often you wouldn't see in a summer anyway.
No, and I mean, like I said, we have usually 2 members in this boat with a dog. We have one driving the boat and then one handling the dog. So a lot of times in a smaller body of water, we'll deploy the Zodiac so we can get closer to shore and use our canine services.
Now, when you're dealing with a rescue situation, for people who might get caught in that situation where they're not necessarily the greatest swimmers and they're stuck out in the large body of water or semi-medium body of water, what's the best piece of advice you have for them when they're stuck in that situation, they're waiting for help?
Yeah, obviously we always recommend people to wear their life jackets. So before you're going to go out into the water, put the life jacket on, even if you are an experienced swimmer. In the event that you don't have a life jacket, the only thing you can really do is lay on your back and try and float and call for help. So, but it's just best to wear a life jacket before going out in the water.
Okay. Is there any kind of breathing that can help, particularly if it's colder, or does that not really make a difference?
You can slow your breathing down, but it's not going to make much of a difference. The colder water is going to be more of a struggle to swim in, so that's why it's very important to wear a personal flotation device.
And how often do you actually see someone not wear a life jacket? Does that happen very often, or is that pretty rare?
No, all the time. We're always seeing people out on the water, not wearing their life jackets or running around on a boat when it's going full speed. So the best thing is wear your life jacket, sit down when the boat's in motion, and be wary of what's going on around you.
There's your clear reminder for keeping safe while out on the water enjoying this Canada Day weekend. We'll have more from the Rescue Hall later on in the show.
Thanks, Josh. We'll take a look at current temperatures right now. Taking a look at Saskatchewan's side. Here in the border city, we're still at 23 degrees. Macklin is at 25. North Battleford is at 22. And Maidstone at 23, just like us. 21 in St. Walburg, 20 in Meadow Lake and Pearceland, 21 in Green Lake, and 19 in Isla Crosse. Heading over onto the Alberta side, 23 in both Wainwright and Vermilion and Marwayne, 25 in Provost, 22 in Vegreville, 20 in both Bonnyville and Cold Lake, 21 in St. Paul, 18 in Edmonton, and 15 in Lac La Biche. Going in northern Alberta, 16 in both Fort McMurray and Slave Lake, 14 in Peace River, 13 in Grand Prairie, 23 up in High Level, and 24 in Fort Chipewyan. On the Saskatchewan side, 23 in Uranium City, 22 in Stony Rapids, 19 in Wollaston Lake, 20 in both South End and Flin Flon, 17 in La Ronge, and 18 in both La Loche and Buffalo Narrows. Taking a look at southern Saskatchewan, Swift Current is sitting at 22 degrees, Kindersley is sitting at 24, 26 in Moose Jaw, 27 in Regina and Yorkton, and 28 in Estevan. On the Alberta side, 23 in Medicine Hat, 22 in both Calgary and Lethbridge, 14 up in Banff, and 22 in Coronation. Taking a look at tomorrow's forecast, we're going to be sitting at around 20, as well as Vermilion and Marwayne, 21 in Wainwright, 22 in Provost, 19 in Vegreville, 16 out in Edmonton, 18 in both St. Paul and Bonnyville, and Lac La Biche, and 20 in Cold Lake. On the Saskatchewan side, 22 in Maidstone, Meadow Lake, Green Lake, and Macklin, 24 in North Battleford, 21 in St. Walburg, 21 also in Pearceland and Isla Crosse. Now, taking a look at your 7-day forecast for us here, we have a 60% chance that we could see some showers tomorrow with a high of 20. 20 is also on Sunday with mostly cloudy skies, but sun throughout the day, which will be nice. 23 for Canada Day is the high with mostly cloudy skies with a little bit of sun, and we may see a break from the rain as there's only 11% chance of some showers. We go down a little cooler down on Tuesday with a high of 16 with mostly cloudy skies. Wednesday, a little bit warmer at high of 18 with mostly sunny skies with a bit of cloud. 20 on Thursday with the same mostly cloudy skies, and 19 on Friday with mostly sunny skies with a bit of cloud. We are around our averages a little bit here for this time of year with a high of 22 and a low of 10. So nothing too major for us here, but that is a look at your 7-day forecast. We'll have more primetime local news coming up after the break.
Now we go to our Josh Ryan, who is on location today.
Back again at the hall with Rescue Squad Deputy Chief Ryan LeBlanc. And Ryan, we're about to talk about an ROV. You want to go into explanation of what that is?
Yeah, you bet. So it's a remotely operated underwater vehicle. So what it does is it can swim basically anywhere underwater. It's got a claw on the front of it. It's got a 300-foot tether, so we can operate it from inside the boat if we're searching for an individual that's gone under the water, in conjunction with our sonar. So we've got advanced sonar on our airboat that we can use to help find objects, boats, or people have gone underwater. So we'll use them in conjunction with each other, and if we do find somebody, that claw enables us to latch onto something, so we can then send our scuba divers down to retrieve what we're trying to get.
And you were talking earlier about how kind of slow, which is, I guess, a good thing that this summer has been so far, the early section of this summer, late spring. Have you had to use this yet, or are you anticipating having to use it anytime soon?
Yeah, we've had to use it once this year so far. We've been up in northeastern Saskatchewan to search for a missing canoeist. So again, when people are going out under the water and the weather is going to come up, just a reminder again to wear the life jacket, and if the locals are telling you maybe not to go in the water, then it's probably something that you should listen to.
And now we should probably go for a few more pieces of advice. You've talked a lot in the past about using the ropes, using your life jacket. So simply having your life jacket on before going onto water is obviously the main idea. Is there any particular routine you'd recommend, aside from just putting your life jacket on before you take off? So an immediate sort of checklist of, we're going to do all of these things before we hit the water.
Yeah, so again, before you even get into the water on the boat, to have your life jacket on, because someone could even fall off the dock, and it's sometimes deeper there, and they could hit their head and go under the water. So even just getting into the boat is important, and then to wear the life jackets and sitting down in the boat before it's mobile.
And of course, someone will break that rule. Hopefully, we won't have to see that anytime soon. Thank you for joining us. And one more time, we'll head back to you guys in studio.
We asked on Facebook, if your life was a movie genre of any kind, what would it be? We talked earlier and we mentioned that we both like being in comedies because events in your life seem to be hilarious and they just keep happening.
A lot of fails or like a lot of bad things like unironically happen to me, so I feel like my life is definitely in a comedy.
Yeah, and it would be fun to have like that comedic life, and I would like to add the romance part in it too, because a lot of those rom-coms are really cute and you always want your life to be like that.
I just want like a narrator who would be like, she messed up, and just things like that, like Morgan Freeman or something, just narrating all the fails in my life. I feel like that would be perfect.
Amazing. I would love to see that. If that was a movie, I would go see it. But reading some of the comments here, we have a couple comedies, naturally. Someone said sci-fi. Post-apocalyptic, which is interesting, and horror. That would be an interesting one. I don't know if I'd be able to live in a horror movie. I think I like watching horror movies, but I don't like.
I'm not a huge horror movie fan, so I feel being in a horror movie would just be like my worst nightmare, which is kind of ironic, but it would be, because I do not like horror movies and I do not want to be scared constantly and like be afraid to go in my basement.
Yeah, that's fair. See, it depends on the horror movie. I wouldn't necessarily want to live it though, because the 2 hours watching it, scared, I don't like that feeling, but the movies always seem to interest me, but definitely wouldn't want that to be my life. But we will be getting to your pets right now. Pet of the day. This is Ash.
Aww.
Adorable golden puppy.
So cute.
The next one is Gemmi or Jemmy.
Just relaxing.
Very
really
cute.
Nice.
The thing he's laying on is pretty interesting. It's like a net or like almost like a spider web of some sort. This is Rambo.
Aww.
Very adorable
Cute
little kitten. Yeah, they're very cute. And this is Duke and Harley.
Ooh.
I love how they got the picture of them looking off.
Yeah, they have like that dramatic like off-screen look.
Yeah, and one's more elevated than the other one. It's a really nice photo. And this is Sadie.
Aww, playing outside.
Yeah, probably looking forward to go to the dog park.
Probably.
Very, very cute. Well, if your pet was shown on tonight's cast or anytime this week, you are automatically entered to win a free Pet Pad gift card, which we will be giving it away tonight at the end of our Hour 2 show. So make sure you stick around to see maybe if you won a pet gift card.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to have them featured on Pet of the Day. Your name will be entered into a weekly draw for a gift certificate from the Pet Pad.
In studio with me, the head coach of the Women's Rustlers basketball program, Chris King, also one of the bench bosses of the 16A Liners, 16U A-Liners girls softball program, which is probably a very different dynamic than coaching basketball.
It's different but the same, right? Coaching is coaching, different sport, a little bit different how you manage personnel, but it's been a lot of fun with these girls. So it's a nice change from the college girls.
Yeah. How long have you been involved with softball? I know you're obviously a member of the Border City Blue Jays as well.
Yeah, so I grew up playing softball. I actually played in Australia, and I got to go to a bunch of national championships. So I'd say since birth, basically, with softball, and recently switched to baseball. So it's nice to go back to the softball on the girls' side.
Okay. And with this particular group, obviously, you guys are a very busy team, well-traveled, couple of recent tournaments,
yes,
and have the Canada Cup coming up.
Yeah, Canada Cup, the big showcase for this age group. So we get to go out to Surrey. Our schedule, we play Chinese Taipei, we play some teams from Washington, some BC teams. So it's a really great chance for our girls to see what fastball is across the world and maybe get scouted and see what they could become, because there's also U19s out there as well and some national team players. So it'll be very exciting for our kids. They've been talking about it for weeks, so I think they're looking forward to it.
With this group, is there a balance between having to coach to be competitive and to win, and also you're still sort of in a developmental age with those players?
Yeah, I think that's something that is a struggle at this age group. We're playing to win provincials. So last weekend we had our league playoffs. We ended up finishing 4th, which is disappointing, but ultimately we're still aiming for playoffs. It's kind of like a league season in ACAC. But with our number of 12 girls, everyone's getting a ton of reps, and we're developing those girls not only for this year, but for the years down the road, so that the Liners fastball program can continue to be strong after these girls move on and the rookies stay behind.
And when's provincials coming up then?
I think it's July 18th weekend, so hopefully 13 teams in provincials, so you got to be really good to win that and go to nationals.
And so you go right from international competition to your highest level of provincial competition in a span of a week, basically.
Yeah, so in that 10 days, we better be playing excellent ball.
Okay. How do you manage then the amount of stress I'm sure it goes on pitchers' arms, because they're throwing a lot against high-ranked teams, and you have to be careful of the tendency to want your ace out there, for example, all the time?
Yeah, I think that's something that the coaching staff, we've discussed a lot and we've battled with a lot, right? You always want your best out there, but ultimately to win provincials, we're going to have 3 arms that are really good. And we have 2 girls that have been throwing really well, and our 3rd arm's coming along. So it's one of those things you got to balance throwing your ace to resting them for the good of the team and also for the good of their future.
And then you guys have also been playing, of course, in the ladies softball league, so you compete against the other 16U team. You also face off against a couple of adult teams, including the senior Liners. How beneficial is that experience? Not just because they interact with adults, but also you play against athletes that are more physical than what you face during the season.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see our girls go against full-grown ladies that have played their whole life. Just the power and the way that they know the game. Our girls are very skilled, but those girls that are older have thought the game and everything's kind of automatic. So it's nice to see that evolution and what they can become. And you got to learn some lessons, and we have done that a couple times where we've took some tough losses and kind of bounced back from that. So hopefully that continues to happen where we get better playing against older, stronger competition.
And less than 30 seconds to go, but really quickly, just wanted to ask you about the summer basketball camps going on with Lakeland College. Those are coming up right away here too.
Yeah, so we got 3. We got a soccer basketball split camp here in early July. We have a full basketball camp in late July, and then in August, we have another full camp. So 3 camps. Basketball's growing. They're probably going to fill up, and it's an exciting time to be in those camps.
Yeah, and of course you can go to Go Rustlers website. We'll have all the details, I'm sure, and as well you can register right from there.
Yeah, right from there. You can email myself as well.
Sounds like a plan. Enjoy the rest of the cast on Primetime Local News.
I'm Justin with Boom 1019 and 93.7 Win FM, and here's what's happening. This Friday, the 28th, head over to the town of Vermilion for their Canada Day celebrations. Our very own Tim Gavin will be there, so make sure you go say hi. Bring the family out because that is going to be an extraordinary time. Then, on Monday, July 1st, head over to the Basin Wainwright for even more Canada Day celebrations. You got Aaron Pritchett and the Trues performing. You don't want to miss out on that one. It's also going to be absolutely terrific, so make sure you get the whole family out. Now, the Wainwright Stampede might be over, but that doesn't mean we are done with all the Western-themed goodies. So make sure you check out Edgerton Sports Days and Fair. That's happening July 5th to July 7th, so in just a few weeks here. Make sure you mark your calendars. You're going to want to enjoy this. They have jam-packed as many events as possible in these 3 days. Friday, you got the Bullarama and fireworks closing out the day. Plus, their 50-50 draw is starting at $250. You got the beer gardens Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, as well as Saturday and Sunday. You're going to start the day with a pancake breakfast, and you're going to end the day with the chariots and the chucks. There's a whole bunch of other stuff peppered in between that, so they've loaded as much as they can to make sure that you always have something going on. Then, after that, head over to Star Lake for their Bullarama. It's the 5th anniversary. That's happening. They've got beer gardens, wild pony races, plus a dance after the Bullarama. Again, a whole bunch of great stuff going on. You don't want to miss out on that. Celebrate the 33rd annual Irma Summer Spiel. Registration is filling up incredibly quick. I know I've been hammering this one home. That's because I don't want you and your team to miss out on it. You can register your team for slow pitch and curling over at irmasummerspiel.com. Once again, you don't want to miss out on that one. It's going to be a great time, and registration might be pretty full by now. Check it out. I'm Justin with Boom 1019 and 93.7 Win FM, and that's what's happening.
Today I'm joined here with Lily Bellin. She's the co-founder of the Snowflake House Respite Foundation and the new executive director, Shelley Varinga. Sorry. Thank you for joining me today. Just talking a little bit about, what the Snowflake House is and what services it offers, because reading up on it, it sounds like a very wonderful foundation. So can you just give me a little bit of background on how the Snowflake House came to be?
Sure. So in 2012, we started off as a society, and we started doing hourly respite services in 2013. But to give you a little more background to it, I have a 20-year-old son with severe autism, and when he was growing up, we had times where we had fantastic services with great providers and whatnot, and we also had times where we had no services whatsoever and we had big gaps in our service. So as a family, we knew what it was like to have both, to have either. Yeah. And at the time that we started Snowflake House, the other service providers in town had kind of backed out of a lot of the services we were looking at, and people were having to hire privately. And so we created Snowflake House because we wanted other families to not have to worry about hiring privately.
And so what sort of services are offered through the Snowflake House?
So our main service is hourly respite, and respite in my world has a very broad definition. It's basically anything that can bring a parent's stress level down. And so most of the time we take kids out in the community and we do fun things. We take them swimming or whatever. Sometimes we stay in the home with the children and the parents go out in the community and do what they need to do out there, whether it's working or getting their banking done or getting groceries or things like that. And then sometimes it looks just a little bit different. It's very parent-centered, so whatever the parents feel that they need to bring their stress level down is what we try to provide.
Yeah. And so what are some of the struggles that you have faced with, having a son who has autism, or helping parents who are have kids similar as well?
A lot of the kiddos that we serve would not be able to access things in their community like camp or day camps or things like scouts or swimming lessons or all those kind of things that kids go and access without any trouble whatsoever. Our kiddos either are unable to be there or can only be there with a one-on-one aid. And so those are things that we provide for them. For my son, probably the biggest barrier we had was with behaviors. He's got some big behaviors even still, and so that made it difficult for him to even be in school or things like that. And so you just never know where parents are coming from. Not all of our families are behavioral families either. We serve families that have children with high medical needs or children with more physical disabilities, and so we run the whole gamut.
Well, awesome. And Shelley, you're taking over as executive director. What do you have kind of sort of planned for the upcoming, where is the Snowflake House going to go?
Well, my biggest goal is to pick up where Lily's leaving off. She's some pretty big shoes to fill. The biggest thing that I'm finding with our service providers and families is that we need an actual respite house, somewhere where parents can bring the child for 24 to 72 hours so that they can actually get a break.
Oh, well, that sounds really awesome. Just really quickly before we wrap up, if any parent or any members of the community want to reach out to maybe volunteer, or they have a child who has similar needs, how can they get in contact with you?
They can call me directly. Do you want me to give me the number?
Yeah, sure.
306-830-2655. They can also contact us by website, and Facebook is easy to get to us too.
Yeah.
The Snowflake House site.
Okay, well, perfect. Thank you guys so much for coming in and sharing just everything on this really awesome foundation. I know that some parents they don't really know where to go sometimes, and having something like this respite, it changes, and it's really awesome. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.